What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Respectfully. I am your host, Cam Farmer. And today I have a very special guest with us, man. This is one of the best, if not the best, street baller in the nation, in the world. Is an individual that is getting married to my cousin, Zoe. My guy, Mr. Nasir Core, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, brother. Nah, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. We're gonna get you in and out, man, because I know you got places to be. But just talk a little bit about you, man. Where are you from? I know where you're from. I know where you were raised, but just for those individuals who may not know you, just talk a little bit about yourself, man.
I was born in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, moved to Tampa, Florida. I was like 6 years old. Raised in Tampa. Went to high school at Freedom High School. Got recruited for football and basketball. Signed D1 basketball to FAMU. Went there for 4 years. Undergrad, then a year and a half post grad. Got my graduate degree from and my bachelor's from there. Went overseas to Africa, Europe, and then just kept working my way into YouTube fell in my lap, and it's just been up since then for. So that's kind of like a little small synopsis of just my journey for.
Nah, I'm happy you said that. We gonna get to the YouTube very shortly. But just to kind of piggyback off of your high school, you went to Freedom, and you're a dual threat. You were a dual threat quarterback at Freedom High School. The touchdowns you threw, the yards you ran. But uh what was it about basketball that led you away from what football could have been to you?
I played football all my life since I was a little kid. Basketball is something I got into later in my life, like when it came to like high school is when I started playing basketball. So I think it was more if I had to put anything to why I chose basketball over football, it would be I like the process of getting better in basketball than I like the process of getting better in football. I feel like for football, your process is lifting weights, ladder drills, a lot of stuff, just one on one or not really be, like like do a little bit of one on ones, but it's like just drills, a whole bunch of drills. It's not really any live action as much as basketball. You doing your drills, you can play one on one, you can play 3-on-3, 5-on-5 afterwards. So it was constant competition with others, so I think that process made me like basketball, and I was so much worse at basketball than I was at football. So it was so much more room to grow. Um, where football, I played my whole life, I kind of knew how to play football well. Basketball, I was when it comes to like organized basketball game, I wasn't as good. So I knew how to like do play enough for street ball, but when it came to like playing in the organized system, I didn't. I struggled early on, and then I just found that as like a challenge to just get better. So I fell in love with the process. Like I think that's one of the things that kind of like always been consistent in my career. I love the process of getting better. So and I love the challenge of not being the best and becoming the best. So um in basketball, all my freshman friends that was on the basketball team were varsity. They was on varsity. I was the only one JV. So it gave me something to look forward to, and something to like work towards. So it just kind of lit a fire under me. I can't hear you. Oh, is that me? Nah.
Can you hear me now? You good?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you good?
Okay. Sorry about that. My mic was on mute. But no, that's good, man. I'm happy you said that. So let me ask you this. You were born in Philly,
Hmm.
but you were raised in Tampa.
Right.
Um what I know, you moved when you were younger, but like what did you see Tampa being what it's currently to you, and how it's impacted your career as you pursued YouTube and street ball?
I say no, not really, because at first Tampa, all my family, like cousins and um yeah, cousins and aunts and uncles all still stayed in Philly. Um, so I was kind of by myself. I think my my mom and my brother at the time, he was the only one born when I first um, uh, moved to Tampa, and then my grandma, one of my grandmas on my dad's side, was the only people really in Tampa at the time, so it really wasn't like as fun. And then so it kind of was like it was boring for a little bit just because I had nobody to like play with. I had like because I have a lot of cousins like in my age bracket, so that's who I played with. You know what I'm saying? So um, it was boring, but then that's when I got pushed to sports, and that's how I kind of fell in love with sports. And then some of my cousins moved to Tampa as well from Philly, and that's when Tampa became more of a home to me. Um, and but now I feel like it's like a part of my identity. Like I think we all are like products of our environment, and
Mhm.
Tampa is uh a big factor into who I am and who I am. So I think it was a blessing, and I call Tampa my home, and I kind of represent Tampa wherever I go. So, but I still do got love for Philly, but Tampa, that's where I'm from for real.
Yeah. No. And so as you were elevating in your craft at Freedom, and then you still doing what you're doing in Tampa, you then go to Tallahassee, you go to FAMU,
Mm.
and your senior season got cut short due to COVID. And so, what like was there ever any doubt, you know, of hooping again in a organized format? When COVID happened.
I say for sure. I think my college career didn't go the way I planned it to go or wanted it to go due to like politics and the system of college sports. I feel like I was talented enough, but I might not have fit the mold of the coach. I actually got signed by one coach. He got fired, and another coach came in. He had a different idea for his team. So
Dang.
I think that kind of affected my trajectory because as a freshman, I started as at the point guard position. But
Mhm.
when the new coach came in, he wanted to move me to the 2 or the 3, which put me as an undersized 2 or 3, where I was more of a bigger point guard as my freshman year. So it just kind of derailed my trajectory of my career. So I didn't have the years I wanted my sophomore and junior year. Then my senior came, and that's when I kind of like started to fit his mold, and I took off my second half of senior year. We was undefeated at Al Lawson. I don't think we lost the game. I think that didn't happen since like the 1990s. You know what I'm saying? Not losing a game at
Yeah.
home. So it was a big feat. We was top 3 in the MEAC at the time. We was in the MEAC when I was there. So it was top 3 in the MEAC, and we had a lot of momentum going into the tournament. So I felt like we were one of the teams that was definitely in the hunt for winning a MEAC championship. So it definitely was a big halt and kind of was a shock to everybody, not just us, everybody in the world. So with my numbers being my numbers, and my statistics not being well that I can I think I can get an overseas job. I thought for sure like it was over for me. So that's one of the reasons why I went and got a master's degree because I was like, if basketball is over for me, I need to, further my education so that I can be able to provide for my family.
That's real. That's real. So now, you see, how NIL and all that stuff is taken off within the last few years. Let me ask you this. How do you think you would fare before we get into your overseas journey and then get back into street ball? How do you think you would fare now, knowing what you know about yourself now, knowing how many people know you, knowing how your game has developed? How do you think you would fare in 5-on-5 setting in college, knowing what everybody knows about you now?
So like if I was like who I am right now, but at like 20 or 19 years
Yeah.
old, oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I'll be one of the high paid uh NIL person for sure. I think I really truly believe I would have probably took football more serious. Like I would have took
Okay.
football more as like my only option, just because football is more of a, especially with NIL, their money is different when it comes to NIL. When rather than basketball, I feel like football, and I was probably better at football for out of high school than I was basketball for sure. I was a late bloomer when it came to basketball.
Yeah.
So, but if it was just particular to basketball, I think I would excel. I think I could be in the SEC, ACC, anywhere, um, anywhere, any conference I could excel at. I think, like I said, I was a late bloomer, and throughout my late blossom, I figured basketball out. And I don't just play ones. I play in the big three. I play 5-on-5s in my league I'm in it currently. So I kind of know how basketball works, and I got a good idea of how I can like help any team in basketball. So I think NIL first is based on like your social media and how many people you know want to watch or look at things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And secondly is on your talent. So that's why when you have both, it's like you get the crazy paydays. That's why Jeremy Kane was such a highly recruited person. He had the talent and he had the social media following. So I think I would definitely excel well in the NIL
Yeah.
age of day it is now. So I think I wish I was in college at this time or 20 or 19. But I'm glad that the people that all the kids that's reaping the benefits now are reaping the benefits because we were screaming for payments way back when, and now that it's coming to fruition, I'm excited because my little brother is currently in the college football system and he's receiving NIL. So that's something that I feel like was the groundwork is from everybody from my age and before.
Yeah. Nah, man. No, you hit the nail on the head with that. So you're at FAMU now.
Mm.
COVID happens. You don't really know how you see yourself hooping in whatever capacity. You then go overseas. Um, you played. Did you go to Albania or Cape Verde? Which one
First,
did you go? For?
I went to Cape Verde first. Cape Verde,
Okay,
how do you say it?
okay. How was that? Like, what? Describe your experience at Cape Verde.
Amazing. I feel like that was the most fun I ever had playing basketball. It was just living on an island and playing basketball. I feel like Africa gets a bad stigma of like the like environment and the situation you in, but I had, I'm a minimalist at heart though, so I don't really need too much to live by. So when I was there and I was just trying to get on overseas, I had sat out for a year and a half getting my master's degree. I was actually still taking 2 online classes while I was in Cape Verde. So I was still in my master's program taking those classes online while I was over there. So it was just like it was a vacation for me. It was like a 2 month season, 1 month and a half. I had a great time. I had probably like the best highlights of my life over there. I had 65 points one game. I hit a half court buzzer beater, and I dunked on somebody like all in the same week. Like it was 3 games back to back. So it was like it was unreal to see like my potential, how how well I was doing with my year and a half off. You know what I'm saying? But it was just I needed a system that was geared for me. And I feel like in Africa, my team was geared to me. Like it was this is your team. How we make you the best person so that way you can be a best team. So um it was great. I had an amazing time and I will go back to Africa for free. Like for a month, I'll go back to Africa for free. That's how much of a good time
In a
I had.
month?
Like if somebody said I got a month contract over there, I'll pay for your housing and your food and all that, but we don't got no money for you, I would take that trip for a month. I would do that.
So you're saying a lot of good things about Cape Verde, like in Africa, but what was Albania like?
Albania was more like a business trip. So I went you couldn't pay me enough to go back, but I did have my best, like my most productive season there. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in Africa, I averaged the most. I was a league leader in points. One MVP out there. But I didn't win the championship. I lost in the semifinals. But when I went to Albania, I felt like we was the number 2 team, or number 1 or number 2 team. I joined halfway in the season. We ended up winning the championship. I won Finals MVP, Player of the Year, um, everything. Like any guard of the year, any medal
Yeah.
or accolade I could have won, I won. It was not the prettiest. Like we didn't have we wasn't on an island. We was in Eastern Europe. It was cold for the beginning part, and then it warmed up. Um, the food wasn't as like in Africa. I ate great. Europe, I ate chicken and rice every day. You know what I'm saying? So it was more like the business of it. I seen the actual business side overseas. Where so productive, like wise, where I feel like I was in the best shape of my life. I was the most skilled in my life for sure. I feel like Europe was the place where I got all those tools. I got the most accolades I ever had in my life. I won. So those are the things I definitely got. It built my resume so much from Europe, but Africa had the most fun for sure. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it matters what you're going overseas for. If you're going overseas to have fun, which I would be now, I would want to go to Africa. But if I was going, and the money wasn't great, like I think, I mean, I've been on record to say, I say it again. I was making $500 a month over there in Europe. Like it wasn't something I was doing it just to build my resume. So I was over there for business. I did everything I was supposed to do when I was over there. So I would never go back for any of the money that they could offer me. But Africa, I didn't make that much money either, but I had the time of my life. So it was okay.
Yeah, like when you okay, so with Albania, right?
Mm.
I think there's a in the NBA, right? You see Luca, right? And how Luca was a EuroLeague MVP at like what 16,
Mm.
and he plays with a certain level of physicality. When I see you play, and I know it's 1-on-1, so it's a lot different than 5-on-5,
Right.
but Scoob, like y'all play with a certain physicality that you don't really see a lot of players execute in 5-on-5 at the college level or even at pro, specifically
Mm-hmm.
here in the country. Is your physicality, does the physicality that you have, did you learn that in Europe?
I think Europe is a physical league for sure. Like they're not giving you the calls that you may want. And it's more technical because of the fact that I think in America we're way more athletic in America. Um,
Mm,
so you get away with certain weaknesses because you're athletic or because you're faster, stronger, jump higher, or whatever you want to say. And Europe is more of they're physical because they're not those things when it comes to Americans, and they're more technical with every move that they make. Everything is very decisive. So I would say yes and no. I think I definitely got some of that physicality from over there, but I feel like I also always been a physical player due to my football background. But I feel like I think more of what I got from over there was my decisive play because I feel like I played decisive and straight to the point, and that was based on the skills and stuff I learned from Europe. So I think I would say if I got anything for Europe, it would be more of making every movement I make something that's trying to either get to something else or accomplish something rather than it's just fancy or create like you know what I'm saying.
mm,
If it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to do it. So I think I'm real
right.
technical on everything that I do, especially when it comes to my one-on-ones.
Okay. No, that definitely makes sense. So that leads into my next question because we're about to be at the 20-minute mark. Um, when you came back to the States, did you ever have any idea about how your future would look like when it comes to hooping? Like, when did you start taking YouTube serious?
It's crazy because me and your cousin went on a cruise. So we went on a cruise because I had just got back from overseas, Albania. So we went on a cruise to just kind of celebrate the off season. I ain't seen her in a couple months.
Mm,
So we just enjoying each other's time. And so I got off the cruise based in Orlando, and I just wanted to get a run to kind of like get my legs back under me. So when I did that, I put on Instagram like where the runs at, and then one of my friends said they were like a YouTube group was called Wild Hunt at the time was doing a park run in Tampa. So and then they were saying whoever can beat somebody that was undefeated and ones get $100. Whoever the best player. So at the time that was Moon, and I didn't know who Moon was. I know I've never been somebody that absorbed YouTube. I was not. I still to this day don't watch YouTube. I watch reactions more than I watch like actual YouTube video. I don't watch. I can tell you, there's probably 100 games on YouTube that I played in, and I probably watched like 10 to 15 of them.
Right.
So I think so. Then when I went there, I was just going to hoop to get my legs under me. I end up, I guess, looking the best, and then they put me in the 1-on-1 against Moon, and I beat Moon. So that's kind of how I took off from there. But I never went there in the intention to get on YouTube. I was thinking that, I just came from a great season. My agent had a lot more to go off of now, so that he can get me into one of the target areas that I wanted with like Greece, Spain, or something like that. So we already had a plan on, okay, I'll be probably getting signed. It was probably like April or June,
Yeah.
and then March, April or May, and I had just got back, so I was preparing to probably leave in like August, September time. So that was kind of my whole plan, but that thing got derailed when I seen how YouTube started. Like I wasn't getting paid nothing from YouTube when I was playing first, but I seen how fast my following was growing, and I was selling my shirts, the Big Guard t-shirts, and I seen how fast people like clicked on to that, and I was making so much money with the t-shirts that I was like, I can pay my rent with just off of t-shirts, and anything I get off of YouTube would just be extra. So um, it kind of made me start to view it as like this can be a serious like route for me.
Yeah. No, like so it sounds like the cruise that you went on with Zoe changed your life.
For sure,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
No, that's good. That's good. So there was a 4-part documentary series that came out called Streetball: The Untold Stories of Basketball Stars.
Right.
Um you were a part of that, and I loved your story. And I read up a little bit on it, and I loved it, man. What would you say? Um what do you think the documentary, or what misconceptions do you think that the documentary did a good job of explaining? Because I know there are some people who have their preconceived notions about 1v1 and street ball and things of that nature. But what do you think, you know your documentary and your story did a good job of explaining when it comes to the misconceptions of ones and street ball?
It's crazy. I haven't even watched the full documentary. Yeah, I didn't know the full documentary came out. I know Zoe and my grandma and them. They went to the it was like a showing of like one episode, but I didn't watch the whole 4 episodes. So I didn't even know it came out yet. That's news
Wow.
to me. But I mean, from what I remember, it told a story of basically just how we as YouTubers that people love to call us are really like professional or players that are respected. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we all
Yeah.
have a story. I think it did a good job of telling each of our individual personal stories of how we got there. And what we went through throughout our basketball careers or whatever. And even now today, like people are starting to take it a lot more serious than they did back when we made that documentary. But it's starting to turn into a whole new route. It's the G League, it's the NBA, it's overseas, and now YouTube is starting to become a serious route where people aren't frowning upon YouTube. Like at one point, when I said like even when I first started being a YouTuber, I was in denial about being a YouTuber. I told people like, bro, I went overseas for 2 years. How you gonna tell me I'm just a YouTuber? I just play YouTube now because it pay my bills, but I'm a pro. You know what I'm saying? I did not like the title YouTuber for a long time. It took me a long time to get okay with people calling me a YouTuber. And that's I think I got okay with it because people started respecting it more and more. So with the respect, it didn't seem as like they was trying to hinder my basketball credentials. It was seeming more as like, oh, this is just what you do. So I think it did a good job of just telling that part of it, like just saying how we are pros. We approach the game like a pro. I mean, I take care of my body and I diet just like any other pro overseas. I see what people do overseas. I've been overseas with those people and I do the same stuff now. So it's I think it's kind of showed that, and it showed that our stories of basketball and everything that could have hindered us or took us a different route, and how we still ended where we are. So I think
So
the documentary did a good job of that.
so I never really knew how, you being called a YouTuber, was it like a little like people didn't take you serious, or these are a bunch of YouTubers just playing basketball. Like, was that like offensive to you and others?
Yeah, it was offensive. It was like saying like it's like saying basically like it's men's league. Like you kind of like, oh yeah, this is men's league. You know what I'm saying? So or you're like, I'm a pro, you playing in the men's league. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was definitely a shot when the people were saying it at the time, and I was so hell bent on being a pro, and like I said, basketball isn't something that I ever played at the highest level. So I was always working my way up to get the highest level. But everybody in the area always knew that I could compete with anybody from the highest level, because when we did our runs back in Tampa and the pros came in, and I wasn't a pro yet, but I was keeping up or killing most of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? So anybody from the Tampa Bay area, St. Pete, Orlando, you know what I'm saying? Miami even, like if I go to your pro run or I do something like, is Miami Pro League, is the Ace League out in Orlando. Tampa had a St. Pete League for a little bit. So when we did those runs, and it's high level pros coming back, NBA, Euro League, China, CBA, any of those people coming back, I'm keeping up with them. So everybody respected me, and they knew that, like, oh no, he can go. He just ain't had the right situation to be there. So I definitely took it as offensive, because I had already built my name to so much respect in the area, but not like globally. So if anybody tried to disrespect me, I just kind of was like, bro, you just don't know my resume for real. It's because like my credentials are there, but my resume isn't there in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so that leads me to my next question. Now that you do have a platform and people do know you and they see the professionalism that you approach ones and street ball with, how did the big 3 come calling?
They didn't call. I came knocking on their door. I think
Word.
it was just one uh like, it's called Aces. They was having like a 3-on-3 tournament. They wanted to kind of invite some influencers to bring in some traction. They asked me to do it. They didn't have no money to pay for appearance fees. But they were saying it was in Miami. That's like I live in Tampa. That's like a 3-hour, 4-hour drive. Wasn't nothing crazy. Zoe has family in Miami area. Her dad lives out there, so I was like, it's just a vacation for us. So I was like, as long as you take care of that, I'll come. And I
Yeah.
took a chance on them. They took a chance on me. So, and it's crazy because they ended up broadcasting it as the top 3 players from the tournament. They'll pay for their way to get into the Big Three Combine, because there was like Bitcoin owners of, or I forgot what it was, but it was part of the ownership group for a
Okay.
Big Three team called Power. So they was like, yeah, they'll pay for. I ended up playing the tournament. I played like trash. But my team made it to the championship. We lost in the championship. The tournament was for like $10,000.
Mm.
Glenn Rice Jr., who was already in the Big Three, his team ended up winning it. But they still like appreciated me for coming. I was the first influencer to commit to them, and it helped
Mm.
them get other influencers. So they still honored. They was like, I know you didn't play the best, but your team made it to the championship, so we'll still pay for your way to get to the combine. So that's the only reason why I even went to the combine. And it just so happened it was the same weekend as my freshman roommate from college. He just had graduated from pharmacy school, and we was going to Vegas, and the tournament, the combine was in Vegas that same exact weekend. So it just worked out for me to go, and then I went and balled out in the combine, and that's how I got drafted.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I saw some of your games, man, because Zoe, she posted about it. Her mom, Shatita, posted about it as well. And just seeing
Mhm.
you compete at a high level against former NBA players. Like who was someone that you competed against? Who was a former NBA player that you competed against in Big Three that you never really thought that you would ever be in that position to compete against them?
Uh, I would say somebody that I was kind of shell shocked about early. I would say I think the first person was Mario Chalmers, just because I watched the finals when he hit those big shots and the LeBron and the one. So I was, I was late coming, like watching basketball, being a fan of basketball, but that was something that I could remember off the top of my head. So when Mario Chalmers was my teammate, I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. And then I say Michael Beasley even because you just know Michael Beasley as being like one of them, like he one of the ones, like um another one I'll say probably Joe Johnson, who was my teammate this year. I
Mm.
remember him in the Hawks. You know what I'm saying? I remember him just killing the league, and I remember like playing 2K and him just being crazy. And I think the last one I would say is Gerald Green. I remember I was a big when I played 2K, I needed Gerald Green on my team because I play like fantasy where you can draft your own players and compete
Yeah.
against your other people. So Gerald Green was like the one role player I'm always going to draft. So all those people was just like, wow, like I'm playing alongside these people. These people know my name. They were scouting me as well as I'm scouting them. Like that, it was a surreal moment. I think as far as the coaches, I didn't really. There was a lot of older people like Dr. J, Gary Payton, where I wasn't a fan of basketball at those times when they were playing, whatever. So when I'm talking to people about who my coach is or who coaching against me this week, that a lot of people was more like trying to tell me like, do you not understand who you talking about right now? Like, and I really didn't understand the magnitude of it until I started like doing my research and realizing like how much of a great player they were in their day. So yeah, I feel like Mario Thomas
Yeah.
was the first one though.
Yeah, no, for sure. You mentioned Gerald Green. You got an event coming up. This is the perfect segue. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
You got an event coming up in Houston in a few weeks. It's called The Scene, and you're gonna be playing against Gerald Green, man. Talk about how that came into fruition.
I think I've been telling people that I wanted to play a one-on-one against an NBA player for a while.
Hmm.
And then my boy Pep, he runs the scene. He does a great job over there. He kind of was telling me how he's trying to do the NBA versus the YouTubers. So, I done built my name to being like a premier name. So he was making sure that he could get me on the card, and he was like, "Is there anybody that you want to play?" And I was like, I'll play anybody, but I know Gerald Green has played on like a one-on-one before, so I kind of wanted to play him. But I didn't know if it was an option. So he came back and was like, "Nah, Gerald Green is somebody I know." He talked to him. He was down to do it. So then after that, I was just like, "It's a fire like full circle moment." Like I remember playing 2K, like I said, with Gerald Green on my team, and now I'm gonna be on the court sharing it like as opposition. So even though I respect this game a lot and everything he did for the game for sure,
Yeah, no, that's good, man.
and there's
Y'all,
a
if
little
y'all
bit
are
of
in
payback.
Houston,
There's a little bit of payback because he definitely beat me in the championship my rookie year.
oh, so there's a storyline here then.
There's a storyline for sure. If you can watch the film, he hit like two threes on me in the championship. I got like an and one on him, so it was a little bit of back and forth. So, but he won and he won Finals MVP. So, I mean, if anybody up, he up.
Hey, no, no. See, I'm glad you said that because I'm like, Nas, he just not gonna hoop with anyone just because. So there
Mm.
has to be a storyline. So when you posted about, hooping against, Gerald Green, I was like, that Gerald Green, former NBA player. Nah, that's tough. So,
Yeah,
in the interest of storylines, because we got 10 minutes left. Um, I wanna focus. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. Uh, you faced Scoob this past weekend at Judgment Day,
right,
and I can't lie to you. When I saw the documentary, like the promo, uh, before the actual event happened, I said to myself that I don't ever recall Baller's life ever creating this high level of a promo ever,
right.
because the storylines were there, and it was real, real emotions going into it, and Dev in the lab did an amazing job. um I know the situation between you and Scoob and Eugene, it's very touchy, so we're not gonna get into the specifics of it. um Even though you admitted that you could have handled things a little bit better, um, and you displayed a level of self accountability, what were some ways that, in your reflection, you gave yourself grace in the process? Like, what were some ways, what were some remedies, or what were some things that you did to let you know that, hey, look, I messed up. Next time, I'm gonna be better at this. Like, how did you give yourself grace in the process, in the face of criticism?
I think first I always say, you know, I go back to why did I make that decision? Like, if I made that decision out of a good place in my heart, you know what I'm saying, I can always live with it, no matter how it ends up going. Because I felt like at the time when I made the decision, it was it wasn't malicious to anybody. Yes, I made them when I have been thinking about the fans, but it wasn't. I didn't see it as selfish. I didn't. I wasn't doing it for myself. I did it because in my head it didn't just make sense to me with me playing on that Friday, and I had a big 3 game on Sunday, so I didn't want to risk my body for amount that I didn't agree to. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, so I always go back to, because there's been a couple times where, I'm in the face of criticism. And people want me to do this and I do this, or people expect me to do that and I don't do that. So, I just kind of always, like I said, go back to, if I made a decision, is it something that I made with a full heart, like, and not like no malicious intent or anything. If I did that, did I make it with a clear like mindset? Like, was I like in a bad place or something? As long as I was locked in and I did it with a good reason, you know what I'm saying? As a man, I can take accountability for any wrongdoings I do. Um, I just have to face the consequences of whatever it comes with. And I think I just have to learn, or I have learned, that people, everybody don't have an idea of what what they want you to do. You know what I'm saying? Or what they think you should do. But I feel like you have to have an idea of what you think you want for yourself, and then you have to execute that to the best of your ability. So like I said, I went to school. I went to school for sports management, which it taught me a lot about business, and it also taught me about um like my worth. I'm somebody that the I understand the bigger scope of things, of like what economy I'm in, what value do I bring, like it's supply and demand. You know what I'm saying? I understand all of that. So I know how much demand my name brings. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, do I want to have a big supply of it and then lower my demand? Or do I want to have a little supply of it and raise my demand? You know what I'm saying? So people, I'm kind of going off topic from the Eugene situation, but it kind of makes sense for the situation of, okay, people want me to play more ones. Supply and demand, I want my demand to be so high that they got to pay me as much possibly to get me to come outside. So I have to lower my supply of how many ones I play so that I can force businesses and companies to pay me the amount that I want. So that's kind of like my whole mindset. And a lot of people don't think of it that way. They say it's street ball. You should only But I feel like this is the reason why I am who I am. Like I call myself the blueprint because I feel like not only am like I'm the poster kid for how you start to how you finish, like your career with YouTube. I'm not saying that my career is finished, but how like you progress throughout years. But I also think that I think I'm one of the people, like one of the pioneers of pushing this space as forward as possible. You know what I'm saying? So I think when it comes to contracts, like I was the first person to get on a contract to like basically have some security as a YouTuber. You know, usually we get
Yeah.
appearances by appearances, like just go on every event we play, and I needed some security because there's one point in my career at YouTube that I had tore my meniscus and I was out.
Mm.
So I remember those days like I wish I had that security. So
Yeah.
that's one way I pushed it forward. And there's many other ways. Me building my own platform. Now you're seeing more players trying to do the same. I'm pushing the space forward so that we are the players are benefiting as much as possible because the platform can always find a new Nas. Like, and they're always going to be looking for a new Nas because if Nas is asking for this amount, if I can find somebody that gets the same amount of gravity as Nas and don't cost as much, I'm going to go with that option. So I have to advocate for myself, and that's kind of where a lot of it goes. Like I'm always advocating for myself, and I can live with anything that comes with it. So that's kind of how I face adversity or criticism.
Yeah. No, you hit the nail on the head. And for the last few minutes, you mentioned the blueprint, right? And you created your own platform, the Blueprint League. And watching that documentary, Street Ball, the untold story of uh street ball players, it mentioned your faith and how you came from, a Muslim background and now you converted to Christianity.
Mm.
Um, when did you realize that God could use basketball as a vessel to influence the lives of other people, particularly in your hometown of Tampa and, globally
Yeah.
as you build the Blueprint League?
I think I, first time I actually like seen it in my own eyes is when I think I was in Detroit and we was doing a park takeover. There was a whole bunch of people that came to see us, and we were coming in, and this is when I was big on the Big RU movement, and I was blowing up, and I was with Nick Bridges and them Savage Squad out there, but it was two kids on the other side playing, and then he had got one of the kids got an N one, and he yelled it out, "Big guard," you know, what I'm saying, I'm a big guard, whatever, whatever. And I was just seeing, like, I heard it. I didn't pay no mind to it, but it was like one of those like solid nods. You know what I'm saying? That you just walked by and gave a solid nod to because it was just I felt like I'm not saying I was the first person to ever say big guard, but I feel like I created a movement and so many people was getting behind it that it made it more pop. It made it so much more popular. So that was the first time I realized my impact or how much, say I got into impacting so many people. Like it was people with big RU shirts at the event. You know what I'm saying? They bought my shirt just so that I could be there, sign it, or take a picture with them in it. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with I was in Puerto Rico. I did a takeover in Puerto Rico. It was people in Puerto Rico with big RU shirts. So I seen the impact that I had. And that's kind of where I realized, you know, my testimony is powerful. You know what I'm saying? I never got handed anything. I always was somebody that had to work for everything. And I got so many times that when I did get that yes, I was ready for it because I feel like everything I did leading up to my YouTube career was very humbling. Like I wasn't the best in high school. I wasn't nearly the best. I was one of the last options in college. And then overseas, getting paid $500 a month to even play. So it was so humbling that, but it was humbling for the time that whenever I do get that light and I become the best, I remember when I was like the last person on the bench. Now I'm the first person, I'm the poster child of the team or I'm the head of the team, but I remember when I was the person that was on scout team. You know what I'm saying? So it was a humbling experience for when I got the light that I don't just let it over like just take over me. You know what I'm saying? So I just remember I think that was my testimony, and that's why when the pay-per-views came, I always try to, do a little segment post game about, the Lord, because he and I used to say one of I think it was I don't it was Summer Jam. I was playing Kyrie Walker, was in the DC area, and I put on my shirt. They always ask us what you want to put in your jersey, so I'll go with something different every time. But that time I did the chosen one because I was just feeling like, and I didn't do the chosen one because of YouTube. I did the chosen one because I feel like God really chose me to walk this path and to impact lives with my social media, my presence, my image and likeness, all that. So now I made sure that post game I was able to give him the glory, because I wouldn't be here without him, and also try to give a little segment of, you know share my testimony. I get any chance I get, I try to share my testimony, because a lot of kids have unrealistic uh unrealistic dreams. You know what I'm saying? Everybody not gonna make it to the NBA. Everybody not Jason Tatum when they're 6'9", 210, or what I'm saying, LeBron James 6'8", 260. You know what I'm saying? Some people look more like me, where we 6'2", 6'3", or less. You know what I'm saying? Where you're not the NBA mold, but there's so many ways that you can succeed in life without it being the NBA or overseas. Like, not only and I'm not even just talking about basketball. I went and got my master's degree. And I'm very vocal on, yes, I have 2 degrees, and I want to advocate for everybody to go to school as long as they possibly can, because when this basketball stuff ends for me, like, I will still be able to find a job somewhere and provide for my family. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like I said, God put me in this place so that I can share my testimony with others, and just be like a beacon of hope for anybody that don't think that they can do it, because anybody can do it.
Yeah. No, man, you hit the nail on the head. You said you got your bachelor's degree in sport management. That's exactly what I got my bachelor's degree in. I got my master's literally a year ago in journalism. So what you saying, man, it holds significant weight. But yeah, man, no, that's all the questions that I have for you, man. We're about 2 minutes over time because I really want to get you out of here. But Mr. Nas, man, I appreciate you for taking some time to speak with me. I know you got a busy schedule, but the fact that you took some time out to speak with me on this small platform, I appreciate you, man. And also shout out my cousin Zoe, his new fiance. Thank you, Zoe, for putting us and being the middleman, and you know putting us in contact. So yeah, man. Nas, is there anything else you want to say, man, before we head out?
Nah, man, I'm talked out, but I just like to say, before anybody get out of here, you gonna get 1,000 no's, but it only take one yes to change your life. So don't ever think that you're too far away from your breakthrough. Could be right around the corner. You know what I'm saying? And you might say that your platform is smaller now, but I see the research that you do. You brought things to the table that I didn't even know. So um, I think that you being thorough is a big thing in growing your brand. And it's always, everything starts small, and everybody thinks you crazy when you start it until you start having success. So I feel like, you just a breakthrough away for yourself. So you family though, so you need me, just let me know.
Yeah, for sure, brother. No, man, I appreciate you, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of this episode. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys when I see you guys, probably on YouTube Shorts. But you guys have a great rest of your night. Please be safe. God bless you guys. Love.